Alright, so kettlebell swings. A lot of people tend to do these incorrectly. So the way a kettlebell swing is done is actually a hip hinge movement and not a squat movement. Alright, so take a wall for instance, or an upright if you will. Okay, so you're gonna step about a foot away from the upright, and what you're gonna want to do is get that hip hinge feel, right? So every time you feel the muscle here, your hamstring stretching, you know you're doing it correctly, apart from actually tapping the upright. So if you want to start off closer to the wall itself, or the upright, or anything stationary that's heavy enough to know where you're going to be feeling it, go for it. So work your way out to eventually to the point where you know you're pretty far out, right? From there, you're going to go ahead and get your weight. In this case, your kettlebell. You should also use a dumbbell, all right? What you're gonna wanna do is, if you're not familiar, or rather you're not proficient enough in actually using your hips to snap the weight up there, then I would suggest you do what I call like a football hike. Your weight is gonna be the kettlebell itself, all right? So from here, you're gonna step very up close to the kettlebell, all right? You're gonna go into that hip hinge position. You're gonna go ahead, reach for your kettlebell, and doing so, bring it back and snap your hips up top. Now, when we come up top, we don't want to see extension, meaning you're gonna overextend, hyperextend your back. At that point, you're doing a disservice. You want to keep your midline section as tight as possible, and you want to squeeze your glutes so you're nice and tall. So there's a difference between overextending and standing nice and tall. Also, keeping your core is also very important. If not, you're gonna be doing flexion, rounding of your shoulders. Completely avoid that, all right? So, make sure that your hips are doing all the work and your arms are not. Plenty of times I see a lot of girls and a lot of guys use their arms as the sole driver of the swing itself and not their hips. So, grab your bell here, boom. My hips are going back every single time. If you notice, my shins, as I come back, are nice and upright. Hip hinge, your butt goes back, torso is forward, you're nice and upright. If you're very familiar with doing a deadlift or a good morning, it is pretty much the same, right? Going here, and I go down. So, remember, you want your torso, your midline section to be as neutral as possible, but also very stiff and tight. You're gonna wanna go ahead and make sure that you're hip hinging. If for practice, you go ahead and use an upright, use a wall, or something of that nature, something very solid, so you can go ahead and love tap it with your butt and progress from there, all right? Remember, you don't wanna overextend either. And for any God-given reason, if you start going down into it, too much of a bend, you know you're doing it wrong, all right? So those are my tips on how to actually do a kettlebell swing.